Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today we're taking a look at Sagrada, a dice drafting game from Floodgate Games designed by Daryl Andrews and Adrian Aramescu, in which players are drafting translucent, colorful dice in order to craft a stained glass window like those you'd find in the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. Today's going to be a little bit special because in addition to playing a playthrough of the official solo rules as written in the rulebook, I've also discovered on BGG from Duke Fan Blue 2005 a very interesting Automa version of this game that I'm also going to be doing a playthrough, so we can do a little bit of a comparison between this official solo and the unofficial solo. And of course, after my playthroughs, I will meet you back up here to let you know what I think about the game in general, as well as both of these two solo modes. So let's head down to the game and we'll see how it plays. Alright, so for today's playthrough, we're going to be playing the solo mode as written in the instruction book. And the solo mode in this game is quite a bit different than the multiplayer game, as there is no AI or Automa opponent to be playing against, so things had to be changed a little bit to make the game play well as a solo game. So for that reason, I'm going to show you only the setup for the solo game, and then we'll do a playthrough of that solo game. As I did mention in the intro though, we will be playing a second time using an Automa variant that I discovered on BGG from Duke Fan Blue 2005. So that will come after we finish our first playthrough. So to set up for the solo mode of Sagrada, we're going to start by taking one of these stained glass boards, and then we're going to draw two of the private objective cards at random. So in this case, I've got green and I've got yellow, and I'll explain how those work a little bit later when I talk about scoring. And then we're going to draw our actual player board or stained glass mat for the game. And just like the multiplayer game, we will draw two of these, and then we will choose ourselves which of them we're going to use for the game. Now you'll notice in the bottom right corner of the card, there's a series of dots. In the multiplayer game, that would show you not only the difficulty level, but also the number of favor tokens that you could use in the multiplayer game. But there are no favor tokens used in the solo game, so this is simply going to tell you the difficulty of the card, with the more dots meaning a more difficult challenge that the game is going to give you. So here we've got a 3 and a 5, and on the other side, we've got a 5 and a 3. So my choices are a difficulty of 3 or a difficulty of 5. In this case, I'm going to think to take the 5, I think. Although, yeah, I don't have any cards here that are focusing specifically on green and yellow. I mean, this one does have 2 yellow, but I can make that work anyway. So I'm going to take this 5 because at least it gives me one of each green and yellow. So I will put that inside this double-sided board, slotted it in just like this. And again, I will explain what all of these things mean as I go through how to play the game. So after we've set all of that up, we also need to take 2 public objective cards, which are these with the blue die on the back. So we'll shuffle these up and we'll take 2 of these as well. And these are going to give us unique scoring goals for the game. So I've got here shade variety, and I'll explain these again when we talk about scoring. And I've drawn deep shades. And then continuing setup, we also need to draw a number of tool cards. These tool cards are going to give me special abilities that will help me play the game. And again, I will explain these as we talk about how to play the game. But for right now, in the solo mode, you're actually allowed to choose how many tool cards you're going to use. Now the rules suggest that you can choose anywhere between 1 and 5 cards. If you choose 1, it's going to be very difficult. And if you choose 5, it's going to be very easy. I myself like to choose the number of cards sort of based on the difficulty of the board that we've chosen. So in this case, I chose a level 5 board, which means it's going to be very difficult already. So I'm going to go ahead and use the full 5 set of tools. Again, when you play this game solo, you can choose how many you want to adjust the difficulty to your liking, but I'm going to go ahead and take 5 of these cards. And I will slide them up a little bit, so we've got some space on the screen. And then finally setting up, we're going to use the round tracker up here to keep track of the rounds, and we'll also be using this to keep track of our our sort of goal score, which I will explain in a minute. So to play a game of Sagrada, we're going to be playing the game over 10 rounds. In the solo game, in each round, I'm going to be taking from this bag 4 dice at random, and we will roll those 4 dice, as you can see here. And then I'm going to take my turn selecting one of these dice to place into my player board. Or using those dice to trigger any of these tool cards that we want to trigger. And I'm going to be doing that twice per round. At the end of the round, any dice that I haven't placed on my board and or haven't placed on the tool cards will be placed on the number of that round on the round tracker. And those dice that we're placing on the round tracker are going to be adding up to be the total score that we need to beat in order to win the solo mode. So basically, I want to be placing low numbers here so that at the end of the game, my total on the round tracker is not very high and it will be easier for me to win. So again, the total of all of the dice placed on the round tracker at the end of the game is my goal score that I need to beat in order to win the game. So when we're selecting dice to play on our player board, we need to place them following a series of rules. And the first rule is this: on the first round of the game, we can place a die anywhere on the outside edge of the board, following the restrictions that any space that has a number printed on it must be covered by a die that has that number showing on the top of the die. And any space that has a color printed on it must be covered by a die of that color. After you've placed your first die, from that point on, all other dice you place must be adjacent to a die that is already on the board. And that adjacency can be either orthogonally or diagonally. Now, when we're placing on the board, there are a few things we're going to be thinking about in order to score at the end of the game. All scoring at the end of the game is going to be based on these objective cards that we drew at the beginning of the game. So first, my private objective cards are yellow and green. So what this is telling me is at the end of the game, I'm going to score a number of points equal to the number of pips of that color that are showing on my player board at the end of the game. However, we do have 2 of these in the solo mode. In the multiplayer game, each player will get 1 of these cards. In the solo mode, I've gotten 2. However, at the end of the game, I will only be able to choose 1 of these to score. So this is just giving me a little bit of flexibility in my play as to which one I'm aiming to score on at the end of the game. I will not be scoring both, only one color. And again, I will count all of the pips of that color that are showing on my board at the end, and those will be directly counted as points. We will also be using these 2 public objectives, and in this case, we'll be scoring both of these cards. So let me show you what these are, and you'll get an idea of how they work. So this one here says shade variety. I'm going to be scoring 5 points for every set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if I have a full set of every number, I get 5 points. If I have 2 sets, 10 points, and so on. So I need to try and get a variety of numbers on my board, while aiming, of course, to get high numbers in my yellow and or green colors to score more points in that way. And my other public objective for this game is deep shades. So I'm getting an extra 2 points for every set of 5 and 6 on my board. So again, I'm really trying to score based on high numbers, and I'd love for these high numbers to be yellow or green. One more thing I did forget to mention: when we're placing dice on our board, no two orthogonally adjacent dice can be of the same color or of the same number. You must always place a die next to different colors and different numbers. Diagonal in this case doesn't matter. Diagonal only matters for adjacency when we're deciding where we're allowed to place the dice. Again, I also mentioned during the round we're going to be able to use these tool cards. And to use these tool cards, I'm going to choose one of the dice that I rolled, and instead of placing it on my board, I'm going to be placing it in the upper left corner of the card, matching the color that is printed on the card. And when I do that, I'm going to trigger the special ability of that tool card. So let me show you the 5 tool cards we have so you have an idea of what we're going to be able to do. So here we've got Eagle-Eyes Brush. Eagle-Eye's brush says I can move any one die in my window, ignoring color restrictions. But I must obey all other placement restrictions, including color adjacency restrictions. So what this means is I can take a die that's already on my board and I can move it. So for example, if I had a green 5 in this corner, I could move this green 5 to this yellow space, even though it doesn't match the color. However, in this case, there's a green next to it. So my color adjacency rule says that I cannot place a green there. So I would not be able to place this green in that spot. And in fact, this green could not go in any of these spaces because there's a 5 here and there's a 5 there. And I can't have a 5 next to a 5. So even using that card, we need to make sure that all of our other restrictions are still being followed. Next, we've got Grossing Pliers. Grossing Pliers says after drafting, I can increase or decrease the value of the drafted die by 1. But this does not wrap. I cannot make a 6 a 1 and I cannot make a 1 a 6. Next, we have Lens Cutter. Lens Cutter says after drafting, we can swap the drafted die with a die from the round track. So again, as I mentioned, any dice we're not using are going to be stored on this round track. So at any point, I could use this card to swap what I'm taking from my rolled dice and exchange it for one of the dice that's there, and then place that die from there onto my player board. Tap Wheel. Tap Wheel says we can move up to 2 dice of the same color that match the color of a die on the round track. So if I'm looking at the round track, I can find a die that's of a certain color, and then I'm allowed to move 1 or 2 dice of that color on my board. However, I still have to obey all the placement restrictions. This tool is not going to be so useful in this game. This tool is actually very useful when you have public objectives that require a certain die in a column or a certain die in a row. The objectives we're playing with today do not have any of those restrictions for columns and rows, so this will probably be less important. However, it will let me move numbers if I want to place another die of that number in the space next to it. So it could still be helpful. And finally, our 5th tool for today is the cork-based straight edge. And this says after drafting, I'm going to place the die in a spot that is not adjacent. So this breaks the rule that I must place dice adjacent to dice that I've already placed before. So again, we can make use of these tools anytime we choose to on our turn, in addition to taking a die or instead of taking a die. So we can do both drafting a die and using a tool, just using a tool, or just drafting a die. And these tools are going to be very useful to me because not only do they give me an ability, but remember, I'm rolling 4 dice every round, and I'm going to be taking 2 to place on my player board. That means I'm left with 2 dice. And any die that I don't use gets placed on the round tracker and will be added up to be my goal score at the end of the game. So any dice that I can place on a tool does not get placed in a round tracker and will therefore not be included in that sum total at the end of the game. However, it is worth mentioning I can only use each tool once, and I will reiterate that the die that I use for that tool must match the color in the corner. So there's no way for me to ever place a red die on any of the tools that I've drawn for this game. So with those setup and rules being said, I hope that made sense to you. And if you have any concerns or confusions, I hope that they'll sort of work themselves out as we get into the gameplay. So let's go ahead and get started with our game. So I'm going to start over by drawing 4 dice. All right, we've got 4 dice, and I'm going to roll those dice. All right, so we've got a 2 and a 6 in blue, a 3 in yellow, and a 4 in red. So I'm going to try and figure out where I should put these, remembering that any big numbers that I let go to the round tracker are going to be really, really big problems at the end when I'm trying to hit that score, right? Because my goal score is depending on what goes into the round tracker. So we'll have to keep that in mind. But let's see, I would love to place a die on this 6, but my only 6 is a blue and it can't be placed next to a blue. So I think what I'm going to do, yellow is good for me. Yellow and green could potentially both be good for me. It's only a 3, but that's not horrible. I'm going to start by placing this yellow 3 in the corner where I see a 3. No. I don't want to do that because I would still really love to place this blue 6, because groups of 5 and 6 are going to score me 2 points, and I don't want that 6 to end up in the end game scoring. So I'm going to actually start by placing this blue 6 in the corner where it's not a problem. And then, oh, that works. Okay, because then I can place this 4 red on this 4 right here, because that's not adjacent to any other red pieces. And this 2 and this 3 will both go up here on the round tracker, which is not bad. All right, so then we'll draw another 4 dice and roll them. All right, a red 1, a blue 1, a yellow 3, and a green 6. Remembering we have to place adjacent to things that we've already placed, and I would love to keep high numbers from getting on the goal. Also, green and yellow are great to have. I like high numbers, but I do need one of each number at least to start scoring those sets of one of each number. But I really want this green 6 because that helps with my private objective and it helps with all of my other things. That's going right there. And you know, this blue 1 and this red 1, I don't really care about. So I'm going to take this 3 yellow and put it here in the yellow. And these 2 1s, I'm perfectly happy to have up here in my round tracker. So that's the end of round 2. And we draw 4 more dice. All right. We've got a purple 5, a purple 2, a red 2, and a yellow 3. I would love to place that purple 5, but there's a problem here, is that this is purple and this is 5, so I couldn't place it in either of those places. I could put it here though, and there's no reason not to. Yeah, let's do that. The purple 5 goes here on the 5. So I'm left with a red 2, a purple 2, and a yellow 3. That purple 2 can't go in the other purple spot because there's a 2 there also. I could put a yellow 3 over here in my 3 spot. And there's already a yellow 3 here, so that would make it easier to place this green because it gives me less restrictions. Or I could start thinking about using some of these tools. Yes, I think I'm going to do that because I do need to get rid of some of these dice. And they're not high, but I have 5 tools and I've only got 8 rounds left. And I can only use 2 of those per round because I can only use 1 each turn and I'm taking 2 turns. So, but the 2 is low. No, I don't mind that 2 being there, and I'd rather save it for when I need to get rid of a big number. So I'll take that and put these 2s up there. And then 4 more dice and roll. All right, a yellow 5, a blue 5, a 1 yellow, and a 3 purple. Again, that 3 purple can't get placed in the purple slot because I've got this yellow 3 here. A blue 5 would be nice to have. I'm going to take that blue 5 and put it here. And then I could place that purple 3 in the corner. Or I could place that yellow 5 somewhere as well. I would love to place that yellow 5. But I do need to have that 3. Yeah, I'm going to place the 5 here. I'm not actually using this card, but it's getting rid of that yellow 5. And I'm going to place the purple 3 here in the corner, which means the only die that goes up there is my 1 yellow. And we move to round 5. Wow, there's a very little green coming out this game, which means I may not be focusing on this green private objective, but we'll see what happens. All right, so I've got a yellow 6, a blue 3, a purple 5, and a red 3. I need to place that yellow 6. I cannot let it stay out. And I've already used this card, so there's nothing I can do. I'm placing the yellow 6 here in the corner. All right, Now, I cannot place the purple 5 there because there's already a blue 5 in the way. But there's plenty of other options of places I could put that purple 5. Although, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to place this purple 5 because purple doesn't get me any points for my private objective, which means I can adjust this blue 3 to a blue 2 and put it right there. And then we'll put this red 3 right there, and we move on to round 6. All right, red 5, purple 1, blue 2, purple 1. I'm kind of sad that I'm not getting any greens or yellows, but we've got some yellow out there already, so that's not the end of the world. I'd love to place that red 5. I cannot place that red 5 here because there's a blue 5 there, which is a little bit sad because, yeah, that red 5 can't go anywhere on my board because here there's a purple 5, here there's a purple 5, here there's a red, here there's a red. I can't place that red 5. That's a problem. That's a problem because I don't want that red 5 to go up there. I wish I hadn't used this last turn, but guess what? I did. So I can't place that red 5 anywhere, which is a problem, but so be it. I can place these purple ones, and I need this one here because that one doesn't match a 2, 3, 4, or 5. That was going to be a hard place. I got very lucky with that placement. And realistically, this blue 2 goes perfectly right there in the middle because, again, 3, 4, 5, 6. That 2 doesn't match any of those. And it's a shame, but I'm going to have to place that red 5 on my round tracker. All right, so moving into round 7. Again, all reds, blues, and greens. And we got all 1s this time, which is actually not a bad thing. I'm going to place this red 1 here because that'll work perfectly. And yeah, actually, this green 1 fits perfectly on my green and doesn't match any of the surrounding numbers. And that means all I'm placing on my round tracker is, hold on, yeah, that's fine, is 2 1s. I'm going to really start focusing on these last 3 in the last 3 rounds because I definitely don't want those dice placed because that's just extra points. So now I roll 4 dice again. All right, I'd love to place that green and blue if I can. That blue cannot be placed again. However, I can use that blue up there somewhere. Yeah. I don't need to move any dice. Means I don't care. I'm going to put this 5 on... Move up to 2 dice of the same color that match the color of a die on the round track. There's everything but green is there, so that will be better than this. This one ignores color restrictions, but all my color spots are full. So I'm just going to stick that there to get rid of it. I can't place this 4 green here or here or here. Here is fine. I wish I could put it there, but there's already a green there. But the 4 is actually going to work perfectly right here. So put that there. And my second die, I will take a blue 1 and put that right here. And that 2 goes up top here. Looking at this 4, I've got this swap from the round track, but there are no 4s up there either, which is somewhat annoying, but we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm going to pull 4 more dice. We've only got 2 rounds left, so we'll see what we can do. I would love to see a yellow 4 would be perfect, but I don't have any yellow dice this time, and I don't, oh, there's a blue 4, but there's already a blue here, so that does not help me at all. All right, I cannot place, oh, I can place the blue 4. I can place the blue 4 right there. And then let's take a look at these other things. I can't place the blue 2 because there's a 2 and a blue here and there's a blue here. I can place the purple 3 here or here. Both of them will work. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do. And it doesn't matter either way, so I'm going to put that there. Means this 2 and 3 go up there. No, I'm gonna place this here just because. I'm not moving anything, but I don't know what's coming out in the last round, and I don't want to waste that die if I can help it. So now we roll 4 dice. Ooh, I've got some greens that I would love to place. I've also got a yellow. If I can get a 4 on that yellow, that makes things amazing. It's not going to happen, but that would be great if it did. No, we got a 3. That's unfortunate, and there are no 4s up there. Okay, so we're not going to be able to fill this one, which is a problem, but that's okay. Yeah, this 5 blue is a problem, because there's nowhere for me to put that 5 blue. So that 5 blue is going to get placed anyway. So I'm going to place, let's see. Green is 6 and 4 is 10 and 1 is 11. Yellow is 6 and 3 is 9 and 3 is 12. So I want to place the yellow, and I'll focus on that as my private scoring objective at the end. Means this green 3 goes here just because. There are no 4s up there, unfortunately. I would love to swap for a 4, but I can't. So unfortunately, that's the end of my game, and we put that there. So now we move into scoring. I'm going to be very careful and move all of these dice off the top here, because we're going to use those again to track our goal score. And the scoring track is on the back of this round track. So I'm going to start by using this green scoring token to record my score. And we'll start with these 2 dice. 2 and 3 is 5. 1 and 1, 2. 2 and 2 is 4, means 7 to 11. Plus 1 is 12. Plus 3 is 13, 14, 15. Plus 6 is 21. Plus 2 is 23, and another 2 is 25. And then plus 3 is 28. And finally, this one hurts, plus 6 is 34. So my goal that I need to hit to win the game is a 34. So let's see how we did. We're going to start first by focusing on my private objective. And as we quickly counted earlier, yellow is clearly the right way for me to go with this. So we're going to score 6 plus 3 is 9, and 3 is 12, and 3 is 15. And then we're going to score these 2. This shade variety says I am scoring, again, 5 points for every set of each value anywhere on my board. So let's count each number. 1s, I have 1, 2, 3 1s. 2s, I have 1, actually I have 4 1s. I only have 2 2s, so the biggest set I can have is 2. I definitely have 2 3s. I definitely have 2 4s. I definitely have 2 5s, and I do have 2 6s. So I get 2 of them for a total of 25. And then I get 2 points for every set of 5s and 6s. So how many 5s do we have? 1, 2, just 2 5s, and I do have 2 6s, so I'm getting 4 points. And that means I finished the game with a score of 29 to 34. Unfortunately, I was not able to win this game. So let me clear the table and we'll get back into it with the solo Automa version that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so to set up a solo game using the Automa variant, you're going to set up as if you were playing a standard 2-player game with some slight adjustments for the AI player. So first, you're each going to get a window frame. In this case, the Automa player is going to get a window frame that has a unique player board or scoring card inside it. And you can see each column is all one color. And I'll explain how that works as we get into the gameplay. But we're going to set up like that. And then each player is going to receive one of the private objective cards. In this case, of course, the Automa's card is going to be placed face down because I'm not allowed to know what it is until the end of the game when we do scoring. And my card will be fine to place face up because I need to know what it is and I want you all to know what it is as well. So I'm looking to score blue this game. We are then going to shuffle and give myself 2 of these player board cards. And just like we did in a previous playthrough, I'm going to choose from those two cards which ones I want to keep. Now in this case, because we are playing with the AI and the AI's gameplay is going to play like a normal multiplayer game, this number of dots in the corner is not only going to be difficulty level, but also the number of favor tokens I will receive. Now I do see I have blue, so I would love a board that has some blue already on it. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this level 5 card that has 2 blue spaces printed naturally on it. So I'm going to go ahead and slot that into my window pane board. All right. Now, the rest of the setup is going to be like a normal multiplayer game. So that means we're going to be putting out the round tracker. We're going to deal out 3 of the public objectives in this case. All right, so we've got medium shades, which is scoring 2 points for sets of 3s and 4s. Deep shades, which is scoring for sets of 5s and 6s. And color variety, which is scoring for 1 of each color. And then we're also going to deal out tools. In this case, just like the multiplayer game, we will be dealing out 3 tools. Now I'm going to slide everything over just a bit because what's going to matter in this case is we're going to need to keep these in a row of 3 cards because the AI cards are going to play off of these tools, and I need to know which one is tool number 1, which is tool number 2, and which one is tool number 3. So it's important that we do that. So let's take a look at the tools we've got. I've got the grinding stone that says after drafting, I'm going to flip the die to the opposite side. So I can turn a 1 into a 6 into a 1, 5 to 2, 2 to 5, and so on. We've got the flux brush that says after drafting, I can re-roll the drafted die. And then if it can't be placed, I return it to the draft pool. And finally, we've got the glazing hammer that says I'm going to re-roll all dice in the draft pool, but I can only use this on my second turn before I draft. In addition to this, we will also get favor tokens. The AI will always receive 5 favor tokens. And I will receive a number of favor tokens equal to the level of my board, which in this case is 5. So I will also receive 5 favor tokens. So before we begin the game, I also want to point out these favor tokens. We didn't use these in the official solo variant of the game. But in this case, the favor tokens, just like in the multiplayer game, these favor tokens are going to be used to trigger the tools. We're not going to be placing dice in the corner of the tools for this version of the game. We're going to be spending favor tokens. And it's going to cost 1 favor token to activate a tool, unless there are already favor tokens on that tool, in which case you need to spend 2 favor tokens to activate that tool. For the AI setup as well, we're going to use a deck of cards. Now this is again printed off of BGG, so these are just printed on my computer and printer, and these are just in sleeves, so they're just sort of floppy pieces of paper. This is nothing official or printed. There's also a scoring card that we'll refer back to when it's time to do scoring at the end. But basically the AI is going to score based on sets of numbers in columns and rows on his board. And we'll also lose points for empty spaces and gain points for favor tokens, which I'll explain in a minute. They will also score 5 points bonus if they've completed everything. But we'll come back to that when we score. So next I'm going to shuffle up these AI cards. There are 17 of these cards. And I'm going to choose 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to play with in the game. The other 7 are set aside. This means that every time we play with the AI's choices and decisions are going to be a little bit different. And these cards are going to direct exactly what the AI is going to do on its turn. So to play the game, we're going to play out over the same 10 rounds that we did before, only we're going to play like the normal multiplayer game. So we're going to roll 2 dice per player plus 1. Means in this game, we'll be rolling 5 dice per round. And then we're going to take turns, me and the AI, drafting a die each and or using favor tokens to activate tools. We can activate 1 tool per each turn that we take if we would like to. Now, on every odd round, I'm going to be going first. And on every even round, the AI is going to be going first. And the way we're going to take turns is this. Whoever is going first is going to draft 1 die. And then whoever is going second will draft their first die and their second die, one right after the other. And then we will go back to whoever went first for that person to draft their second die. And you'll see how that works as we play. Otherwise, the game is going to function pretty much exactly the way you saw in the previous playthrough. So I'll go ahead and get started, and anything that is confusing should hopefully be clear while we're playing the game. All right. So we're going to start, as I said, by rolling 5 dice per round. So I will roll 5 dice. And we've got a blue 2, a green 3, a yellow 3, a purple 1, and a purple 6. Now I'm drafting first. So I'm looking, obviously blue is good for me to have. I want 1 of every color. I like 3, 4, and I like 5, 6. So I wouldn't mind, I need to start on the edge. That blue is great for me, but I need blues anyway. So I'm going to start by taking, oh wait, sorry. Once we've rolled the dice, we need to place the dice randomly on the tracker, 1 through 5. Because this is going to dictate how the AI is going to draft the dice before I make my decision. So now I'm going to draft this 6, and I will start by placing it here in the 6th position. And now it's the AI's turn. We're going to flip over 1 card, and the card's going to show something that looks something like this. So you can see 3, 2, 4, 5. This is the priority order that the AI is going to try and take a die. If they take the die and it cannot be placed on their board, they will attempt to take the die above it from a previous round. And if they still can't place that, then they will forfeit that turn. So again, the AI is going second, so they're going to go twice. So they'd like to take the 3rd die and the 2nd die. They can take the 3rd die. The way the AI places is they place at the top of the column of that color. The numbers don't matter. So it's going to place the 3 right there on its yellow column. And then it wants to draft the 2nd die, but it cannot because there are no dice there. So it's going to move on and draft the 4th die, placing it right there. So now I have a choice of the last 2 dice, remembering that they have to be placed adjacent to this 6 unless I want to use a tool. So I'm actually going to take this purple 1 because it's going to fit perfectly right there. Now, because we need this 1 through 5 tracker every round to play the game, we're going to slide the dice up here above the number to mark the number of the round. So that's the end of round 1. We move on to round 2. I roll 5 more dice. All right, and just like before, I'm going to place these on the tracker randomly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So the AI goes first because it's an even round. So we're going to flip this card. And he's going to draft the 4th die. So this is blue. It goes in the blue column. Now, as I was mentioned, he's going to be scoring based on pairs and sets of the same number. So we've got 2 2s here. So I would like it if I can get these other 2 to be something other than 2. Now, at the bottom of his card here, you see some favor tokens and then card number 1. That means he's going to place a favor token on card number 1. He doesn't use the ability, but that means next time I want to use that, I'm going to need to spend 2 favor tokens. Also, at the end of the game, each favor token is worth 1 point. So that means he will have 1 less point at the end of the game. So now it's my turn. I'm going to draft twice before he gets to draft again. I can see that he wants 2 and 1 before he takes 5. So if I can take those, I can stop him, which would be nice. But I don't mind that he gets that blue 5, so I'm going to not stop that. But I will take this red 4, and I will place it here in the corner. Yes. Yes, that's fine. But the other red's not gonna help me. Hold on a minute. Can I change? I can re-roll that purple. I don't want to re-roll that purple. I need something. I guess I'm going to have to place this blue 5. But I can't because there's a 5 there. Okay. Is there a 3? There's a purple 3, but I can't place that because there's purple there. There's a red 4, but I can't place there because there's a red there. So this is a situation where I'm going to need to use... Yes, I'm going to need to use a tool. I could use this and automatically know that I can place the blue there. But I don't want to waste 2 favor tokens. So I'm going to put this here, which lets me draft a die and re-roll that die again. Actually, no. I'm going to use this one because this is my second choice and I can re-roll all of these dice, which will give me a little bit more option, possibly. All right, so we got a blue 2. Purple 3 and a red 5. All right, means I'm going to take the red 5 I can't place, purple 3 I can't place, the blue 2 I will place. And then he's going to draft the 5th die. I may have actually switched those when I rolled, I don't remember. So forgive me if I did, but he will take that red 5. And this will go at the top. And we roll 5 more dice. And we place 5, 4, 1, 4, and 4, and I go first. So let's see, that yellow 1 is helpful. The green 4 is helpful. And the red 4s and 5s I can't place because that red is next to 4s and 5s. So I would like to take the green and the yellow. I'm going to start with the green and put it there. And then we'll flip his card and see what he takes. All right, so he's going to start by trying to take 3, which is exactly what I didn't want him to get. So that yellow one goes there. Next, he's going to take that red 4, which is fine because it doesn't match the 5 that he has. But before he does that, he's going to place on card 3. And I already have a favor token on card 3, so he's going to place both of his favor tokens, or 2 of his favor tokens, just like you would in a normal multiplayer game. All right, then I get to take my turn. No, sorry. He should take 2 turns. He drafted 3, now he drafts 4. So he's going to take that one. And then it's my turn again to draft. I get a red 4 or red 5. I can't place either one of those. I could place them if I flipped, definitely. So I'm going to not risk it. I'll use 2 favor tokens here, and I'm going to flip. It doesn't really matter. I'll flip this to a 3, and I'll place that there. And this goes up here, and we move on to round 4. And we roll again 5 dice, and place them over here on the board. All right, so this is round 4. He goes first. He's going to take die 3, which is a red 5. Great, so he's matching the red 5s. I would love for him either not to finish this because it doesn't score if it's not finished, or to get something that's not 4 or 5 would be perfect. And he's going to go for a purple 2 if I let him. But let's see what else there is for me. The 4 red is useless to me. The 4 green is great. I will definitely take the 4 green and put that there. I would really like him not to get the 2 blue, but I can't use it. Ah, that's not true. I'm going to take that 2 blue and put that there. That works because I'm scoring on blues anyway, and I like to have blue. All right, so he's going to draft die 1, which is a purple 2, which means now he has a pair of 2s in this row. So I would love for this to be something that's not a 2, 5, or 3. If I can get a 1 or a 4 in green for him later, that would be great. All right, so 5 more dice. And we place them out. Okay, so I'm going first. It's an odd numbered round. Any of those purples would be great for me to fill in this purple spot. That yellow 4 doesn't work, unfortunately, because this can't be yellow. Ah, but I can do this. If I take a 2 here, then we can hope that he doesn't take the yellow and I can put it here. But if he does, then I can put one of the purples here. So let's see what happens. He's going to take, of course he is. He takes this one, which is also going to be a problem because if he gets nothing matching, means all different in a column. All different is actually going to get him a lot of points, 5 points. So I would prefer that I can get him 1 pair of something there if we can. And then I get to draft, no, he drafts twice. He takes 2 and he takes 4, means he's taking this green die, which is perfect because now it's only 1 pair in that row. And I get to take the last one, 1 or 2. I don't care about 1s or 2s. Yes, I do. I can't place a 2 there because there's a 2 there. So I will place that 1. And that's the end of the round. So again, 5 dice. And we roll. I would love to have that blue 6, but guess what? It's round 6, he goes first. Let's hope he doesn't pull a 3. He pulls a 4, which means he gets the purple 6, which I don't care so much about. But again, if I can stop him from getting no pairs or anything here and put something there that matches one of those dice, that would be really good. He wants that blue 6 next, which I need to have. And I'm going to draft 2 right now, so I'm going to take that blue 6 and put that here. And I need some yellows because I need some color variety to score this. So I'll take that yellow 3, but I can't put it here because that has to be a 3. So I will place the yellow 3 here. And that means he cannot draft 3, he cannot draft 5, so he will draft die 1, which goes there. And that's the end of round 6. Rolling 5 dice again. Whoops, that's 6. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Better. All right. Place these out. 5, 5, 6. 3, 1. I'd love to have that blue 5 if I could find a spot to put it in. And I'm going first because this is round 7 now. And yes, I will take that blue 5. I wish I could put it here, but there's already a blue there. But I'm going to take this blue 5 and put it here. And then we flip his card over. He takes the second one. He can't. I did already. He takes the 5th one and places it here, which is great because now he only has 1 pair. And he's going to activate card 3, which means he will place both of his favorite tokens there. And then he drafts his second die, which should be the 1, which is a 5 red, which gets him 3 of a kind in that row, which is not great, but it's not the worst that it could be. And then my turn to draft 1 more die. That 6 yellow could go in the corner here. Ooh, actually the red 3 is perfect. I will take the red 3 right there for my 3 spot, and this slides up top for round 7. All right, round 8, drawing 5 more dice. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have a feeling that may have changed, but I didn't see what it was, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, round 8, he goes first. And he drafts number 3, which gets him a single pair, which is great. And then I get to draft twice. I would love to have more yellow if I can. That's a 2, that's perfect. That fits right there in the middle. And if I can take that blue 5, no, I don't have any more spaces for blues. I didn't plan very well, but I can take that green 5 and place that right there in the corner, which is perfect. He's going to draft 3, 4, which means he takes this one, which is a little bit annoying because now he's got nothing that matches in that row, so he will score quite a bit in that second row. Moving into round 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice. All right, let me place these out. All right, and we're in round 9, so I go first. And I can place anything that doesn't hurt me at this point as long as it matches. That purple 1 would be nice. In here, 3, 5, 6 blue, yellow is bad. I can place a 2 here. And I know that any purple here, well, the purple 1 would go fine there, and either purple would go fine there. So let's see what he takes. He's drafting twice. This one says he immediately drafts the second die. He's doing that anyway because it's his turn to go second. If this was a round that he went first, it would have gone twice in a row. But he's going to draft 5, which he can't. So then he's going to try and draft the die above it, but he also can't draft that. So he doesn't draft anything for his first turn. His second turn should be 4, but that's gone, so he'll take this 3 and place that there. All right, so my turn. I cannot place the blue. I could place the 1 or the 2. If I put the purple 2 here, these are both 2, so that gives me more options for that spot, which is perfect. And these 2 both go up here, and now we enter the final round. 5 more dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I place those out. 4, 6, 1, 4, 2. He goes first in the 10th round. He's trying to draft 2. It doesn't fit. So he's trying to draft this. It also doesn't fit. So he doesn't do anything. So I get to draft 2 to finish. And I'm going to take this green 2, which goes here perfectly. And then let's count colors. I've got 2 yellows. I got 4 blues. I got 3 reds. I got lots of purple. So if I can fit a yellow in there, that would be great. And I can. I'll take a 4 yellow for right there. I'm just quickly looking to make sure I don't have any problems on my page. I don't. Good. So that's it for me. He drafts his last die. 5 is missing. Ah, no. Yeah, he already tried 2. 5 is missing, so he'll take 1. He can't take this 4 because his yellows are full, but he can take this 3. So he's going to place that 3 there. And that is the end of the game. So now let's move on to scoring. So these dice are cleared. These dice don't matter in the solo Automa version because we're going to score like a normal multiplayer game. I'm going to start with his scoring because it's more fun to me to see the goal that I'm trying to beat. So let's go through his scoring. So again, we're following this scoring card, but I will explain everything as I do it. So we start with columns. This column is not complete, it doesn't score. This column is also not complete, so it doesn't score. Purple column, we have 2 1s, a 6, and a 2. That's 1 pair, and pairs score 4 points in a column. So he gets 4 points. The purple column, he has 3 5s and 1 4. That means he has one set of 3 of a kind. So that's 5 points, which is 9. In the yellow column, he has a 3 1 4 3. That's one pair. Again, worth 4 points. 4 and 9 is 13. Now we score rows. 2 2 3 4 5. That's one pair in rows is also 4 points to 17. 3 2 6 4 1. That's nothing matching. That's all different. All different scores him 5 points. Makes 22. Next row, he has a pair of 4s. A pair of 4s is 4 points. So that makes 26. And the last row is not complete, so he doesn't score anything for that. He did not complete his window. If he had completed his window, he'd get 5 points, but he didn't. Every empty space in this game is -1, so he's going to lose 2 points. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this in my previous playthrough, but I will add a comment underneath and also in the subtitles. In the regular solo version in the rulebook, you're actually losing 3 points per empty square. All right, so back to scoring this. He doesn't have any favor tokens left, so he doesn't score for favor tokens. So the last thing he has is this. So he's going to score based on his purple dice. So let's see what he's got. The first one is 2, 1, 2, and then 6, which is 32, and then 1 is 33, and one more is 34. So he finishes with a score of 34. So now we'll move to my board. We'll start with blues. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 is 9, and then 6 is 15. Yep, that's it for blues. All right, then 4 points for every set of all colors. I have 3 yellows, I have 3 reds, I have more than 3 blue, and more than 3 green, and more than 3 purple. So I've got 3 of these, which is 12. 12 and 15 is 27. Sets of 5 and 6. I've got 1, 2 5s, and I definitely have 2 6s, so I get 4 points for that. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 31. Sets of 3s and 4s. I've got 1, 2, 3 3s, and I've got 1, 2, at least 3 4s, so that's 3 times 2 is 6 points, is 37, and I'm left with 2 favor tokens, so 38, 39, and I win the game 39 to 34. So while we're down here, I want to take a look at the components like I do every time I do these playthroughs. And let's start with what's obviously right in front of my face. These dice. These dice are wonderful. They're small, and I don't mind small dice at all, but the colors are wonderful, and they're translucent, which really adds to the effect that we're building a stained glass window. And while we're talking about that, these stained glass windows are wonderful. They're glossy board, they're very thick board, they're a dual layer. This sliding in of the player mats to change the variability every game is wonderful. The dual layer as well to hold the dice in place on the board is great. There is a small problem that because the dice are small, it may have happened and I didn't even notice while I was playing, is that sometimes if you bump them, they will roll over. So you do have to be careful because they're very light. But I love the dice, I love the boards, and the combination of the dice and boards together, it just looks really nice. This sort of round tracker scoreboard, again, very nice cardboard, nice glossy finish on it, very beautifully designed, and it's incredibly functional, and it's great that it works double-sided, one for while you're playing and one for after you're playing to score the game. The card quality, very beautifully designed, again, stained glass motif. The clarity of what you're aiming for, both in text and in symbology or pictures, is really clear. Everything is very beautifully designed. Again, very clear. The card quality itself, it's not a linen finish, it's just a gloss finish, but it's got a nice bend to it. They're nice cards. They're definitely nice cards. And these player boards that slide into your window, they're really nice, and they're very clear and very obvious what you're trying to do. And I like that there's different levels. We'll talk more about that when I review the game. We're just talking about the components right now. But again, nice glossy feel. These feel a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier than the regular cards. And yeah, I like them, and it's really cool how they slot into the window. The dice bag is great. It's bigger than a lot of the dice bags that you get in games like this. It's very easy to get your hands in and out of, even when you're holding a fistful of dice. The printed logo on the bag is very nice. The material is sort of a heavy canvas material. It's not a slimy polyester or any kind of plastic material. It's very nice. The tool cards. The tool cards, similar material to the other cards, so I don't really need to comment on that. But as far as what's on them, they're a little bit busy. It might be a little bit confusing visually what's going on, but the description of them is very, very clear. The idea that they've got this die space for the solo game, but are also used with the favor tokens in the multiplayer game is clever design that they're used in two different ways. And I guess last is the favor tokens themselves. Thematically, I don't know if I understand what they are, but I like them. They're cool glass beads, and they work. I mean, they fit in with the rest of the look of the game, for sure. And yeah, they're interesting. They're not wood, they're not plastic, they're unique, and I like that. Now, the last thing I want to take a look at, I do this every time we review games, is the box insert. So let's take a look. This box insert is actually very, very, very well designed. It's got a space where all of the cards fit in nicely in here. And then on top of those, all of these window cards fit in nicely as well to hold everything down. Now, I didn't put them all in, it would be thicker, but it stays in very nicely. And even if it didn't, the window frames then get placed on top of that to make sure everything is held in really well. And then this can fit in here as well. The dice bag full of dice, you don't even have to take the dice out. They fit right inside this hole as is. And all of the favor tokens can fit in here very nicely. The player tokens also, you can see, fit in there as well. If they were in a little baggie, you just drop those in there. And yeah, the rulebook lays right on top, not a problem. And there's actually space, there are expansions coming. Actually, 2 of them are already out. And there's also the 5th and 6th player expansion, but there should be space in here for those if you're careful and you're clever with how things get put in. Also, the AI cards that I printed out, again, these don't come with the game and they're not supposed to be a part of the game. But if you put these right in here, they fit perfectly well inside the base box. So that's basically it as far as the components go. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthroughs. I'm going to start off by discussing how I feel about the game in general before I talk about either of the solo modes specifically. So I want to start off by talking about sort of the general mechanisms of the game and this dice drafting idea. And I have to say I really, really enjoy what's going on here. I like the idea of drafting from a common pool like this, and I always prefer dice over cards. I don't know why, I just like the idea of dice and the way that the randomness is presented through dice. But I do enjoy this drafting, but I want to talk a little bit more about the drafting because the drafting is sort of a small piece. It is what is driving the game. But when we're drafting, we're thinking about more than just what we're taking, how it fits into our player board. So the main sort of feature or piece of this game is this sort of tableau building, fitting the dice into that stained glass window player board that you've got. And I really enjoy how this game plays. I think now that I've done a few of these reviews and thinking more about this game, it's clear to me now that I really, really enjoy this sort of spatial puzzle where I have to think about how things that I'm receiving fit into the puzzle that I'm building, whether or not they'll be able to fit in future turns and so on. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm sure that I'm generally not a big fan of long-term strategy. I like this sort of tactical piece of a game, meaning seeing what comes out every round and taking advantage of what comes out and what I can do with the things that have come out in that turn. And this is going to be a really interesting twist on, or mixture of both of those things. And I think this is a game that's pushing me to enjoy longer strategic thinking, meaning that yes, I'm drafting every round based on what's coming out, and there's that tactical decision that I love so much. But when I'm placing dice, I have to think about what other dice are near that die because of that adjacency restriction, right? I can never place a die that's of the same color or of the same number next to a die, of those conditions, right? No two dice of the same number or same color can be adjacent to each other. So while I can place a die now next to an empty space, I have to think about what's coming out or what could be coming out in the future, and whether I'm ruining my chances. If I surround an empty space by 4 different numbers and 4 different colors, I really have to find that one specific color or that one specific number that's going to fit into that hole. And that's tough. So I really need to think ahead when I'm placing so that I don't back myself into these corners. So you get this decision of whether to choose an easy card or a hard card, and we'll talk more about that later and what that means for the game. But as far as what that means for placing things on my board, I sort of tend to almost like the harder cards, because the harder cards have more things printed on them. And the more things that are printed on them, the less likely it is that I'm going to back myself into a corner that I don't predict is going to happen. Because if those things are already printed on the card, every time I'm placing a die, I'm thinking about what's going to happen later. So this spatial puzzle is something that I've really, really come to enjoy in many different games. And I think this game does it really well because, as I said, you're worried about what's already printed on there. So you can only place things that are printed on the board on those spaces that have things printed. You're worried about those adjacency restrictions. You're worried about, well, not just one set of adjacency restrictions, but 2, right? Because it's got to match, the color and the number cannot match adjacent. You're also then worried about which dice are going to come out every round, because we're pulling from a bag. So we're getting a random mix of dice. And then we're rolling those dice. So we're getting a random mix of numbers out of that random mix of dice. And then on top of all of that, I can only place that die next to a die that's already been placed. Now in this case, it could be orthogonally or diagonally adjacent, but I've got to think about, how can I place this die? Where does it connect to other dice? Should I draft something else first so I can draft my second die and build off of the first die that I drafted? And this puzzle is really, really good to me. And then on top of that, every game you're playing with these different tool cards that sort of break these rules and give you different abilities. But in order to trigger those abilities, you're basically forfeiting 1 point or 2 points by using those pieces, right? Those favor tokens. And it's almost a balance of, is it worth losing points? And it's not a whole lot of points, but this game could be pretty close in points. Is it worth losing that 1 or that 2 points in order to set myself up for something else that potentially could score a whole lot more points, right? And then on top of that, the variability of this game is great too, because every time I'm playing, the goals that I'm aiming for, yes, my private objective is always going to be a color. So we know that, and that's not going to change. Just which color it is going to change. So I know that I'm trying to get a lot of a single color. But then every time I play, I get a different set of public objectives. And those public objectives could be based on sets of certain numbers. It could be based on sets of all numbers. It could be based on sets of colors. It could be based on those sets of numbers and colors in specific columns or specific rows. So every time I'm playing, not only is the puzzle changing because of the things that I'm pulling out of the bag and the numbers that are coming up when I roll, but also the puzzle is changing because these goals are changing. And the changing goals really, really has a huge effect on this game. Now, some negatives about the game come out of those same things. If there's going to be anything negative, and these are small negatives to me, but they are a bit negative, is that private objective is based on a color. If those colored dice don't come out in the game, right, because you're pulling randomly from a bag, you could end up getting very low points because the color you need is not coming out of the bag. And there's no way to rotate through the bag. You're either drafting the dice that you've given, or you're not drafting the dice that are given. And when I use those tools, yes, sometimes I can swap with dice that are in the track, the timer track, the round track, or place things without those color restrictions, which helps me placing, but it doesn't score me colors for my private objective at the end of the game. So that's tricky sometimes. And the other big thing is those public objectives and the tool cards. Sometimes the tool cards work really, really well with the certain public objective that you pulled out, right? If I have these tool cards that let me move dice around my board, that will help me build those columns and those rows that need specific conditions to satisfy for a certain amount of points. But if I don't have those certain columns and row restrictions or goals that I'm aiming for, then the tools that let me move things around are not as useful. I mean, they can definitely move dice out of the way so I can place another die with the same number in a place that I normally couldn't place it, but otherwise those tools are less helpful. So you'll see, depending on which dice come out, what numbers you roll, which tools are available, all of these things make things easier or more difficult at a somewhat random level. And there's always going to be randomness with dice, so there's no way to get around that. But if you don't like randomness in your game, that could ruin it for you, and I can understand why. But for me, I don't mind that randomness because that randomness is also part of the tactical decision and the tactical choice that I need to make. And the game is overall not that long to play. So, you know, if I get a pretty bad pull or a pretty bad roll in this game, the next time we play, it's probably not going to happen. So I don't really worry too much about that. The other potential negative is the difficulty levels in the windows, right? When you draw the two cards at the beginning of the game and you're allowed to choose from either of the two sides of those two cards to be the goal card that you put inside your stained glass window board, sometimes you're given cards that are all 5s and 6s or 3s and 4s, and you don't really have a choice of difficulty. And also, sometimes I wonder about that difficulty. Is it worth it to take a more difficult card to get a few more favor tokens, or is it not? So this could be a sort of both a pro and a con. It could be negative that if I take a hard board and someone else takes an easy board, if I'm not intentionally handicapping myself, it could be that I accidentally am handicapping myself and making the game harder for me without giving me enough benefit to balance out that hardness. And if you're okay with that, that's fine, because again, you are selecting which of those 4 cards or 4 sides of cards that you're going to use to play with. But it could be a little bit annoying at the end of the game if you see other players piling on the dice, and every draw you're drawing dice and the dice just don't fit into your player board as they need to. So that could be a bit annoying, but at the same time, that decision is a little bit interesting, right? Do I choose a hard board to get those extra favor tokens? Or do I choose a lower board to get less of those favor tokens but have an easier time placing dice on the board? Because the favor tokens are worth points at the end of the game, and empty spaces are worth negative points at the end of the game. So if I have more favor tokens and I don't spend them, and because my board is too hard to place dice on, I have empty spaces, that sort of balances itself out. The problem though is this: if I place a die on my board, I could be scoring my private objective, I could be scoring my public objective, and all of those are going to be worth a whole lot more points than those single points you're getting for the favor tokens. So unless you make some really good use out of those favor tokens with the harder board, if the harder board really does become harder to get things placed onto your board, then you're missing out on some of those public and private objectives, and that could hurt you. So that's definitely something you need to consider when you're playing the game, and sometimes you may just get unlucky. And again, there is luck in this game, there is randomness in this game. You can't get around it, but I don't care. I still really like it. It's a gorgeous looking game. It's got a really nice puzzle to it. It feels really good to play. So let's talk about what I think about the solo game. The solo mode as written in the instructions is not a bad game, okay? You saw me play it, and I will tell you right now, I have never ever won that game. And this is why, and these are the sort of small negative things that I have about it. It still plays like the regular game for the most part. That puzzle is still there. That level of fun for me is still there. But I'm only getting 2 public objective cards to start. So I'm already scoring less than the main game, because in the main game I'm getting 3. I get 2 private objective cards, but I only get to choose 1. So that doesn't really change anything. It just takes away some of that randomness that could ruin my game because I didn't get the right colors coming out. So that's helpful, but I don't score any more points off of that. I don't get any favor tokens, so I can't get any points from favor tokens. And in the solo game, each empty space is a -3 points instead of the -1 point that you get in the regular game. So I'm losing 3 points per empty space, so I really need to fill my board. I'm only scoring on 2 public objectives, so my score is going to be lower already. And then I've got to beat the score or the total number of all of the dice that are left on the round tracker at the end of the game, which is a very interesting, very cool idea. But thinking of it this way, even if I play the easiest level, it means I have 5 tool cards. There are 10 rounds, and we're drawing 4 dice, and if I'm playing perfectly, I get 2 dice per round. So that means there's 2 dice left over each round, and there's 10 rounds, so that's 20 dice. If I have 5 tool cards and I use all 5 tool cards, that means I'm at 15 dice. So even if we assume an average of 2 points per die times 15, that's 30 points is my goal. 30 points is a lot, especially with only 2 public goal cards and no favor tokens to be getting this extra couple of points with. So this is really, really challenging, even at the lowest level. Now, that being said, I have only played the solo game with level 5 and 6 cards. I may have played once with a level 4 card. So it might just be that I need to try it with a level 3 or a level 4, or I might just need to get better at this game. Maybe I haven't played it enough to do very well at this game. But I will say it's very hard. That being said, I love a challenge and I'll keep pushing until I do beat that solo game. It's not going to be an easy win, but it's still a lot of fun and I will continue to play it. Now, talking about that, I did also do a playthrough in this video using the Automa version or Automa mode that I found on BGG from Duke Fan Blue 2005. And I think I much prefer this version of the game. Now, let me say this time though that I've never lost the Automa solo version of this game. So it may be that it's too easy, but it really, really does feel like I'm playing the multiplayer game. Playing with the AI character against me, even though it's drafting randomly, the scoring setup for the AI really does put in a condition that's very interesting, right? In the original solo version, I am thinking very hard about which dice I'm not drafting so I can keep that goal down, and I like that thought process. I like that challenge. But here, in the AI one, I'm thinking about which colors are being placed on his board, which numbers are being placed both in rows and columns, because I want to make sure he doesn't have more than pairs or at worst 3 of a kind. And I'd also rather he didn't get 1 of each or 4 different dice or 5 different dice in a row or column to get the points for that either. So I really want like a pair and then a bunch of other random dice. So thinking about that while I'm drafting is also great. And then because there's this AI player who's drafting against me, it also throws in that tactical twist that you get in a multiplayer game when someone else drafts a die that you really, really want to place into your board. And then you have to scramble to think about how you can do things differently or how you can use tools to manipulate things so that you can place anyway. So that sort of competition, even though it's random competition from an AI card deck, it really feels good. And the fact that there's 17 cards and I'm only playing with 10 cards each time really changes up how the AI is working each game. So it really, really turns it into an interesting puzzle. And then we're back to only a -1 for missing pieces. We're getting those points for the favor tokens. I'm using the favor tokens to trigger tools like I do in the base game. So I can't say anything, but I really like this AI version or this Automa version quite a bit better than the original solo version, sorry, because it is a lot more like the regular multiplayer game. And I think I will continue to play both modes because, as I said, the original solo mode is challenging and I want to beat it. I want to keep playing until I can at least beat it every 3rd time or every 4th time, and I haven't even beaten it once. At the same time, as I said, the Automa I've never lost to, except the one time when we did tie. But I do like that game because the decisions are good. So maybe it's just that I'm better at the puzzle of the Automa version than I am at the puzzle of the original version. I don't know. I don't know if it's easier or it's just more compatible with my thought processes. But either way, both versions of this game are great. If you haven't tried the Automa and you do like solo play, I would definitely recommend you follow the link below this video to check it out on BGG. And I would even push Floodgate. If you're interested in looking at an Automa version for Sagrada, I wouldn't think you'd have a problem. I mean, I think you should definitely at least reach out to this guy and see if there's a way to tweak this a little bit and turn it into an official mode with an official small, micro expansion that you can put out for this game, because I think it's a really cool addition to the game and I welcome it. So that's what I think. I had a great time with this game and I hope you will too. Please like and subscribe below before you go, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.